WrestleMania week is finally over, and I'm finally back home in good old Connecticut. My voice completely gone. Not completely gone currently, but I lost my voice probably on night one of WrestleMania. And just from lack of sleep and talking so much and doing so many interviews and going to all the shows and all this other stuff, my voice was completely shot by probably late Saturday, early Sunday. By Sunday night 2 of WrestleMania, I was finished. As far as my voice was completely gone. It was gone for Raw on Monday. As you could probably tell from the live reaction videos I posted, which were a lot of them. Thank you guys for checking those out. We got a lot of new subscribers from those. From those videos, you could probably tell my voice is shot. And my voice is not great now, as you could probably tell, but it's a lot better now and yesterday than it was on Monday or Sunday. So I'm making progress. Because of that, this video will not probably be all that long, or at least I'm not planning it to be. You probably know better than I would watching the video now. Very excited to be talking about all things WrestleMania weekend here on today's episode. Episode 436 of AskGSM for Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. I am Graham GSM Matthews, of course. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed WrestleMania weekend as much as I did. We have a lot more content coming here to the channel going forward. I still have to post the Dolph Ziggler interview I did with him a while ago. I just never had a chance to post that. But last week, my interviews with Eric Bischoff and The Undertaker, two prolific names in the world of wrestling, both went up here on the channel from late last week, so check those out. A lot of live reactions, obviously. My review of WWE Evil, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan episode, that went up last night. While I was on the plane, actually, I bought the Wi-Fi and used my computer, so I posted it then. A lot of interviews I did, so we had, I have a lot of content to post. The Cody Rhodes media scrum, and all of this is probably available elsewhere as far as the media scrums go. I was at an MLW media scrum last Thursday. I have to post that. I have to post the media scrum of Cody Rhodes that I took on my end on Sunday morning, and he was great. And then all the individual interviews I did on Friday morning with WWE, AJ Styles, Becky Lynch, Naomi, Los Lotharios, Imperium, among others. So those will probably be up on, I have no fucking clue, at some point whenever I get the time. So just keep an eye here on the channel. I appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for all the support on social media throughout the weekend. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to being back either in Texas or for WrestleMania or whatever it is in the future. So it's a very exciting time here on the channel as far as content goes, and a lot has already gone up. Like I said, I took a lot of live reactions, and there is something to be said for not living on your phone and not doing all that other shit. Trust me, when I take videos of these shows, I am not looking at something through the lens of my camera on my phone. I am watching it in real time and just so happen to be recording simultaneously for any live reactions. So all that stuff is here on the channel if you guys want to check that out. If you want to send in a question to this show, you can do so by tweeting me on Twitter at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not in the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. At Kyle Rochelle 19, first question of the episode from Twitter. When Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan lose to Sasha Banks and Naomi next week, can Rhea go after Bianca right away as a heel? Or should they wait to do the rematch with Becky Lynch sometime this summer? So you're basically asking, can we get Rhea and Bianca right away as a Raw Women's title feud? We will get that feud at some point. I want that feud at some point. I don't think we need to get it now, though, is the thing. I don't think Rhea is turning heel on Liv Morgan. It's been rumored for a little while now, and I'll get into this soon, that she's being rumored for this new Edge heel stable, and I'm all fucking for that. I think that's fantastic. With that being said, though, it's just one of those things where I feel like you'd be rushing into it. There are other women to face Bianca in the immediate future. I would not do Becky and Bianca you might think it's part 3. Oh, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. But no, they had other matches on Raw and on pay-per-view coming out of SummerSlam last year. So it would be part 5 or something, but I would be all for that. At SummerSlam, I like that idea more. I was thinking about this last night. I've seen other people talk about it, but maybe they can save their big third pay-per-view match. I'm not counting Extreme Rules or whatever it was last year. They can save the big rematch for SummerSlam, and Bianca probably wins, and I saw people say, oh, maybe they do a double turn. I don't even know if you even need to turn Bianca. I mean, at the very least, you could turn Becky, and Becky finally earns Bianca finally earns Becky's respect, and then Becky turns face afterward again, or something along those lines. I would be totally cool with that. So, yeah, I would be down for that. So I wouldn't do Rhea right now. I would not do it at Backlash. I would wait until like the June pay-per-view Hell in the Cell or Money in the Bank. That's a feud you got to build up to. If Bianca needs someone to feud with right now, where the fuck is Asuka? I wouldn't do Bayley just because we saw Bayley feud with Belair coming out of WrestleMania last year, and Bianca beat her like 2 or 3 times. So I know they never had their match at Money in the Bank, but it's like Bayley's not beating Belair, nor should she. So I don't really want to see that again right now. I think Asuka makes more sense. Asuka can come in and lose. I really don't care. And I think that's a fresh feud. It can be a great match. Asuka can be a heel, face, whatever. And I'd be for that. I think it would further help build up Belair. So I think Asuka, honestly, Alexa Bliss too. I don't love the evil is mine. That whole bullshit is just terrible. But I don't know what the fuck happened to Alexa Bliss coming out of Elimination Chamber. But that's another match I don't think we've gotten yet. Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. Alexa Bliss absolutely should not win, but she makes sense as a first challenger for Belair, whether she's a heel or a face, and Bianca can retain her title, hopefully. So that's what I would like to see. And I do like the idea of doing Banks, if you do it at all. I do like the idea of doing, not Banks, but Belair and Rhea. Or not, well, yeah, I mean that too, but Belair and Lynch at SummerSlam again, 1 year removed from their initial match. Their second question, what will Seth Rollins do now? The guy has been losing big matches lately, whether it be that 5-way at Day 1, his match with Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, even though it was a DQ, and now to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Seth has been a loser. What can they do to change that? Yeah, from a storyline standpoint, you are not wrong. Seth Rollins has been a loser for a while now. He has not won a lot of matches. Like the whole WrestleMania storyline, he has seen him lose matches on TV. He lost to Kevin Owens on Raw. He failed to win the Raw Tag Team titles. He lost to AJ Styles by DQ in the main event a couple of weeks ago. He lost to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And of all the losses he mentioned, and I know he beat Big E back on Raw in January, and Big E went over to SmackDown right after that. That was probably the last... And I think he and Kevin Owens beat RK Bro on Raw, or... I don't remember. I think he and Owens beat RK Bro on Raw a couple of weeks ago. So he has won matches on TV this year. But of all the losses you mentioned, the Day 1 loss, he did beat Roman technically, yeah, but it was a DQ win, so it doesn't really count. He didn't beat Roman by pinfall or submission. I would like to see them go back to that, by the way, in the loss of WrestleMania. But the biggest, most egregious loss that you forgot to mention there was the one from Elimination Chamber 2 months ago when I think he was already in the chamber, but Brock, came out of the chamber or whatever. His pod was released. And he literally, within maybe 10 or 15 seconds, hits Rollins with an F5 and puts him down for the 3 count. It did not bury Rollins. Rollins wasn't at a point where, he will never recover. It made him look like a giant fucking loser. And that did him absolutely no favors. I mean, it wasn't bad enough to where it's like it killed his career. I mean, people don't even remember it barely 2 months later. I mean, you didn't even mention it. You know what I mean? If it was that big of a deal, you probably would have. But he lost there too. He has had a lot of losses this year in all these various matches. And, I mean, obviously he's fine. He's Rollins. He can endure the losses. He shouldn't have won at WrestleMania, given the story, given who his opponent was. I'm totally fine with that. But the question is, where do they go with him now? And so he came out on Raw on Monday, shook the hand of Cody Rhodes. That I thought was interesting. It makes you kind of look forward to what's next. I would turn Rollins face. I mean, people are kind of already on that bandwagon of wanting to cheer Rollins. I feel like it kind of started with the Roman feud a few months ago. People really like Seth Rollins, so yeah, I would probably turn him babyface, to be honest with you. Like a slow, gradual turn. Maybe he and Cody have another match. Cody wins again. And I only say that because I guess losing to Rollins or losing to Cody again wouldn't exactly make this logical in storyline, but I would like to see him and Roman rekindle their rivalry one more time, because that match at the Rumble was a DQ, and WWE clearly, from what we understand, has no plans to go back to that. If they go back to it, I don't think it was part of some long plan. I think they just did what they did at the Rumble to protect Rollins for no fucking reason, even though they had him lose in 10 seconds in the Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why they really did that in retrospect, if they had no plans to definitively go back to it at some point in the near future. It's been 3 months. They probably won't go back to it anytime soon. But I would do Rollins and Reigns at, like, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. SummerSlam's an option, but I feel like SummerSlam can be, like, Drew or Cody. Bobby maybe facing Roman. I don't know if I would do Rollins and Reigns there, although it is an option. But Rollins this time would be a full-fledged babyface. We've never seen full-fledged babyface Rollins versus heel Roman. So, he's been a heel now for about 2.5 years. He has this annoying character right now. I like the character personally. A lot of people don't. It's fine. I think he might be due for another babyface turn. The momentum's kind of shifting in his favor. So I would be okay with that. Beyond that, like I said, I feel like that should be the end goal for right now, just continuing to feud with Cody. I feel like another match or two with Cody would be great. I mean, they have awesome chemistry. They had a really good match at WrestleMania. Maybe he beats Cody at the next pay-per-view and they have a rubber match at Hell in the Cell or whatever. I might be okay with that. I would not have an issue with that at all. So that's probably what's next for Rollins. I'm not really sure what more you do with him in the meantime. So that would be how I would book Rollins for the foreseeable future and then see where you go with him from there. At Loaded from Twitter, do you think the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match was cut? Short on time, I think he means. Should Roman have used the F5 on Brock? I don't know how that would have gone. Brock hitting a spear on Roman may work. Maybe. I don't know if I've seen Brock Lesnar hit a spear technically before. Roman F5ing Brock, I mean, he's strong enough where he probably would have been able to do it. People stealing other people's finishers can be cool at times. It's got to be done, on occasion and not all the time. I feel like we don't see it enough in WWE, so if Roman were to do it, it probably would have been a pretty cool spot, and people would have loved to see it. I just don't know if he would have been able to execute it is the problem. Brock is so fucking big that I don't know if anyone can hit an F5 on Brock Lesnar, you know what I mean? Brock Lesnar is the one doing the F5s for a reason. But was it short on time? I don't think it was cut for time. I mean, it's not like they ended the show on the 4-hour mark. They ended it with plenty of time still to go in the show, so it probably went as long as it did. I would have liked to have seen it go longer. I don't remember how long the WrestleMania 34 match was, but that just wasn't good. This wasn't as good as the 31 match, but I thought it was definitely better than the 34 match. It was somewhere in the middle. Still disappointing for the biggest WrestleMania match of all time in this 8-month feud, blah, blah, blah. People felt it was too abrupt and all this other stuff, which I totally understand, and I felt the same way. But it could have gone longer, it could have been more. I still enjoyed it, but it could have been definitely better than it was for a WrestleMania main event, especially given how high the expectations were for the feud building up to where it was after 8 months, and the other matches they've had being pretty good as well. At Supersonic X 1991, with Monday's Raw after WrestleMania having no surprise returns, whether it be Asuka, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, or Lacey Evans, and no NXT call-ups, will we see those surprises on this week's SmackDown? I hope. I hope we get at least one call-up and one return. I mean, Raw did have Ezekiel, Elias, or whatever. Not exactly a grand return, but we did have him. I was shocked we didn't see Tommaso Ciampa. Maybe he goes to SmackDown. LA Knight needs to be on SmackDown this week. I have not watched NXT yet, so I don't know if he was on the show. LA Knight has no more purpose on NXT. He needs to be on SmackDown, starting Friday. SmackDown has almost no stars. With Cody reportedly reporting to Raw, and Roman likely appearing on both brands for right now, SmackDown has nobody. If Roman is, appearing on both brands, and he's no longer exclusive to just SmackDown, he'll still be good on SmackDown, but you can always just watch him on Raw. The big thing with him on SmackDown is he's the only thing on SmackDown really worth watching. Well, you can just get that on Raw now, and you don't really have to tune into SmackDown. That's the problem to me with getting rid of the brand split, is that there's no real incentive to watch SmackDown when everyone appears on both brands. That was the biggest thing for me. They have no fucking stars over there. They need call-ups like an LA Knight and or Tommaso Ciampa. As far as Bayley or Asuka, I mean, I still say Asuka and Belair should be the feud they go with coming out of WrestleMania. They didn't do it on Monday, surprisingly. Bayley, I think, might be more needed on SmackDown. Raw, you got Bianca, Belair, Rhea, Doudrop, and I like Doudrop, but Nikki Ash, who gives a fuck. SmackDown, you got Naomi and Sasha. Hopefully Sonya. She's not a full-time member of the roster. Shayna, Ronda, Charlotte. I guess Bayley could go to either brand. It would be okay. I figured Bayley would be back this week. So I didn't think she'd be back on Raw, but I'm assuming we could see her tonight. I don't know if she's a babyface, though. And that's the problem. I feel like we might need her. If she goes to SmackDown, she'll need to be a babyface. Charlotte's a heel. Ronda is a face. But the problem is that she's just not very likable currently. So they need someone in that role to really oppose Charlotte. And it could have been Sasha, but she's busy in the tag team ranks, and we already saw Naomi and Charlotte. So Bayley coming back as a babyface to feud with Charlotte. Yeah, we've seen it before, but it would be something a little bit different. I don't know if they want to turn her face. She seems to really enjoy doing the heel thing, so I don't know. But we'll see. And again, I hope we see some more surprises on Friday. I was among those. I was in the minority of those, rather, of people who really enjoyed Raw on Monday. Being there obviously made me biased as well, but I thought it was a good show. But I agree. I feel like we should have gotten at least one return or one major debut. We had Veer and Ezekiel, but we need more than that, I think. And SmackDown needs the help more than Raw anyway. So hopefully we do get at least one call-up and one return of someone that you mentioned on SmackDown this week. His second question, with Edge starting his own faction, who do you think should join his faction? I heard that Rhea Ripley is joining, as the rumor suggests. I believe Tommaso Ciampa would be a good choice. You answered your question right there. Rhea Ripley and Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, had I not even read those reports of Ciampa and Rhea being rumored for the faction, I would have guessed them anyway. Rhea in that faction just makes way too much sense to not do. That just sounds awesome. With Ciampa, I like that idea because I don't know what the fuck else you do with him. I mean, the issue with that is that would mean he goes to Raw, and SmackDown needs the stars. But Ciampa needs something to do out of the gate. Him coming up as a bland babyface, I mean, he's fine as a face on NXT because, people like him and all this other stuff. He's built up that goodwill with the fan base. I don't really see what's accomplished by bringing him up as a babyface because the character development just isn't there, and it's not the same. I mean, people know who Ciampa is to an extent, but not everyone. So he was just so great as a heel. So yeah, I would bring him in as a heel. I don't know how you would explain it, from him being this heroic babyface in NXT one week to then being a member of a cult the next week. But WWE very rarely actually has consistency with that sort of thing from NXT to the main roster. So it is what it is. But I agree. I think Rhea and Ciampa would be two great fits for that new faction, which I'm fucking digging right now. I love the idea of a faction with Edge, Priest, and a few others, hopefully including Rhea and Tommaso Ciampa. What are your thoughts on Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania? I had lower expectations when the match happened. It wasn't hyped like Charlotte versus Asuka 4 years ago. What was the point of WWE bringing back Ronda only to see her this bitter and more terrible than ever? As a character, there might be a case there. In the ring, Ronda's not awful. I thought the match was good. It wasn't great. It was a pretty good match. The crowd just didn't really care. And I don't really blame them just because neither woman is really overly likable, so I get it. There wasn't really an overwhelming reason to cheer for either woman, which I understand. Charlotte winning, I'm not a fan of. I didn't love the whole hokey finish. They protected Ronda, but I don't know. I just don't really care. A rematch is fine, but a time to do the title change would have been on for our Saturday or whatever with Ronda beating Charlotte. They didn't do that. I don't know. I just didn't really like it. And I know I'm not alone in feeling that way. Again, like I said, I thought the match was pretty good. Maybe the rematch will be better. But the feud has sucked. And just because the feud has sucked doesn't mean the match has to be terrible. But like I said, there really wasn't a reason for the crowd to rally behind either woman. A lot like with Bianca and Becky from earlier. That had the exact opposite issue. Or not issue, but the exact opposite situation. And that people really like Becky or are really invested in the Becky character. And Bianca's over as a babyface. So it had a great dynamic. That match with Charlotte and Ronda did not. And they suffered because of that, unfortunately. So maybe the feud gets better. I don't have a lot of hope. I would rather they just move on from it for right now. I don't know what you do with either woman going forward. I don't know if they know either. So I guess we'll find out on Friday. At Reborn Again, John Rutland from the Twitter machine and on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Rutland. Check out his content. He does great work. He did a lot of content for WrestleMania weekend. So if you haven't already checked it out, please do so. His first question was, so what were the 3 best and worst matches / moments of both nights of WrestleMania? Side note, I bet it won't be hard to figure out what lone thing I didn't like. For the second part of your question, I was reading your Twitter throughout the weekend, John. I assume it was the Sammy in Knoxville match that you fucking hated more than anything. I'm sure there was more than that. I'm sure you didn't like Charlotte and Ronda, but I assume that's what you're talking about. Which is funny because I put that in the best category. I thought Sammy and Johnny Knoxville had one of the most entertaining spectacles all weekend. And I was surprised to see it get as much positive feedback as it did on Twitter. I was very happy to see that. I really, really enjoyed that shit. It was the dumbest shit I've ever seen, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, love that. I thought Bianca and Becky had the best pure match of the weekend. I really do. I thought that was fantastic. I mean, I'd probably have to bump Knoxville and Sammy down because I thought that the three best things of the weekend really happened on night one. That being the Stone Cold stuff, the Cody return, and the women's match. That being Bianca and Becky, not Charlotte and Ronda. Sammy and Knoxville would be a close fourth, as well as McAfee and Theory. I thought they had a pretty fun match on night two as well. The worst stuff from the weekend, that's the thing. I don't really feel like there was anything that was egregiously terrible. I would probably have to put the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge match in that column just because it was literally 30 seconds. What a fucking waste of time. Either do the match or don't do the match. Like, either do it and give it some time or don't do it. Like not cut it from the card like they did on night one, but like don't even advertise it. Put them in the fucking Battle Royal instead. That to me made absolutely no sense. The Big E tribute with the gear from Kofi and Xavier was cool. Beyond that, I just thought the whole thing was a complete waste. Charlotte and Ronda would probably be in the worst category. I thought it was a pretty good match, like I said. The finish I wasn't a fan of. The execution of the finish I wasn't a fan of. I thought it was just fucking lazy. I'm trying to think what else. What else I did? Like, listen, Vince and Pat was ridiculous, but the whole overall segment I thought was great. It was very entertaining and people thoroughly enjoyed it. Roman and Brock was underwhelming, but I don't know if I would put that in the worst category. I still enjoyed the match, and at least Roman won. Like, with Charlotte and Ronda, the match wasn't that great, and the finish I wasn't a fan of, so that's why I put that probably in the worst category, along with the New Day tag team match, which was a complete waste of time. I'm trying to think of what else. Night 2, what else was on night 2? Usos, Nakamura, and Boogs on night 1 was pretty good. Corbin and McIntyre was way better than it had any right to be on night 1 as well. I liked Edge and AJ. That was a pretty good match as well. I thought that was a very good match. I know that wasn't everyone's cup of tea. Worst, like, moments, maybe the Stunner, but the Stunner was so bad that it was good, I feel like. That was just a fucking mess, you know? I'm trying to think what else did we get on night 2. Lashley and Omos was exactly what it needed to be. Maybe Taker coming out for a second time on night 2. Maybe. That was just kind of like, why? You know, they already did the Hall of Fame stuff on night 1, so why did he come back out on night 2? That was kind of random. There really wasn't a lot else for me to complain about. I like seeing Triple H. That dragged on for a while, but whatever. You know, it was cool to see him have his boots have him put his boots in the ring, end his career officially that way. So I thought the good far outweighed the bad. I thought it was a great Mania overall, personally. His second question, with Cody Rhodes' return on night 1, he's certainly riding high, and the fans are with it. But how long do you give it before the boos start raining down? It's tough to say, man. It's really tough to say. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I think Cody being back is awesome. I love seeing him on Saturday. The guy's a star. I'm a big Cody fan. I've always said this, though. I've always been a big Cody fan. What he was doing at the end there in AEW was fucking terrible. And I honestly think it's a case of, like, it might be an issue of giving him too much creative control. In WWE, it's a risk of, like, the people that are in control may not know what to do with you, but at least they can rein you back if you're doing something dumb. Or hopefully, I mean, they gave Nikki Ash free reign in the Nikki Ash character, and I thought that was the dumbest shit ever, so it's tough to say, but, you know, I love what he did on WrestleMania Night 1, I love what he did on Raw on Monday, and he's a very good wrestler, so I hope it sticks. I don't know as far as, you know, like, at what point people would really start to turn on him, what the catalyst would be. If he gets shoved down our throats, then maybe, but it's tough to say when that would be. Like, so far, they've presented him perfectly, but we've only seen him twice. It could be in a month, like, when the buzz starts to wear off a little bit, people might be like, oh, I fucking hated the AEW, why wouldn't I hate him now? The only reason I didn't care for him all that much in AEW was the fact that the stuff he was involved in just wasn't good. And he was making a lot of dumb decisions, like burning himself on the back in that match with Andrade was completely ridiculous. He ain't doing that shit in WWE. I think when Cody is in the right environment and he's doing the right stuff, he's untouchable. Like, it wasn't even the whole AEW run was bad. Like, the first early stuff he was doing with Jericho and MJF was fucking great. And then it was really all downhill from there. The TNT title stuff was great, too. It was when he was feuding with, like, QT Marshall and a Go-Go. And I like Malachi Black. I like the Malachi Black feud. I thought he did a good job of putting him over twice. You know, I don't know. Beyond that, though, like, he had a really poor 2021. So far as 2022 is off to a great start, from that awesome ladder match with Sammy to now being in WWE. So I don't know, if he starts meandering with the promos and talking about the most random shit like he was a couple of months ago, like that last promo he cut in AEW, I thought was terrible. Honestly, like the whole, oh, Terry Taylor's hip toss class and all this other shit. That was literally 3 months ago. Like, I know he changes his mind, but he was taking shots at WWE in January, dude, when he was still a free agent at that point. Like, that shit is just stupid. And I wouldn't want him to take shots at AEW either, now that he's in WWE. But anyway, so I wouldn't say like, oh, you'll be booed next week. It'll be interesting to see where the fans are on him in a couple of months. Like, even the casual fans who don't know Cody or don't remember him or only know him as Stardust, they're going to see him as a big deal, because if other people react to him as a big deal, they'll start to see him as a big deal too. So hopefully they can continue that, ride off the positive momentum. At some point, sure, you got to turn him heel. The guy is a brilliant heel. Cody Rhodes as a heel is fantastic. He can also be a great babyface, though, as we've seen. That's the thing. I said this earlier on Twitter, I would have him be the one to beat Roman Reigns. I know that sounds ridiculous. I would have said that sounded ridiculous a week ago, and I definitely have. But listen, the way they presented him on Saturday and on Monday makes me feel like that could be a legit possibility if they play their cards right. And that sounds beyond dumb, but that's what I would do. I would totally do that. So, I don't know how long it's going to be before the boo birds start coming out for Cody Rhodes. I wouldn't say in a month or two. I would give it a couple of months and see where we are, and depending on his booking and what his promos sound like and shit like that, we'll see where we are. But for right now, I think he's in fine territory as far as where he is with the fans. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, your thoughts on FDR and Wheeler Yuta winning ROH titles at Supercard of Honor? Yeah, I caught up on Supercard on Monday. It was a very good show. You forgot Minoru Suzuki as well. He became the new TV champion, which was beyond random, but I'm here for it. I thought it was cool. FTR winning the Ring of Honor tag team titles was fucking awesome. They are one of, if not the best tag team in the world today. So adding another accolade to their long list of championships won is pretty fucking cool. That was an awesome match with the Briscoes. And Wheeler Yuta becoming the new pure champion was cool. I like Josh Woods. I hope they keep him around and continue to use him. But, Yuta, he was actually in the tournament to crown the pure champion when they brought the title back in late 2020. So it actually makes sense. And he's been doing great work recently in AEW, so I'm all for it. Maybe they can bring the belt over to the William Regal Club, the Blackpool, whatever the fuck they're calling it, Fight Club or whatever. Maybe he's a member, or he drops it to Danielson or something. I'd be all for that. So, I thought it was cool, and I thought it was a very fun show overall. His next question, who do you see headlining next year's WWE Hall of Fame, The Rock or Batista? Good question. The Rock, if they do Rock and Roman, I don't think Rock goes into the Hall of Fame that weekend. The only time they've ever done that was WrestleMania 24. I mean, everyone knew Rick was losing anyway. I wouldn't have Rock beat Roman, but there is a little bit of doubt there that Rock could beat him. So if he goes into the Hall of Fame, there wouldn't be. I would not do that. I would wait until 40 or, WrestleMania 40 weekend or 41, whenever The Rock's free. I would wait until the next time they're in Florida. Whenever they go to Miami next, or Orlando or Tampa, I would wait to do The Rock then. I know Batista's from Tampa too, but if Rock's wrestling next, if The Rock doesn't wrestle, like the thing is that if he's free that weekend and he can do the Hall of Fame, then why wouldn't he be able to do WrestleMania? I can't say, he should do the Hall of Fame but not Mania. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think he would be free on a Saturday but not on the Sunday, or the Friday not on the Saturday. Maybe if it's a case where he can't take bumps, they would do that. But if he can't take bumps and his career is indeed over, then yes, induct him. But if not, then do the match that weekend. And instead, induct Batista. He was supposed to go in technically in 2020. The class got canceled because there was no Hall of Fame ceremony that year. It then got moved to last year, but he couldn't make it due to being busy with other things. And he wasn't inducted this year because they inducted The Undertaker. So him being inducted in LA, if he's free next year, makes sense. I don't know if it was a case where he was busy this year. He probably was filming Guardians 3 or whatever. But I was fine with him not going in this year because they had The Undertaker go in. So next year would be perfect. I would have Rock wrestle, ideally, if he can, and have Batista headline the Hall of Fame. That's what I would do. Do you think Kenny Omega, last question by the way, do you think Kenny Omega should take the entire year off? Oh, man, that's a long time. I mean, it's April now. I know he's taking the thing is, Meltzer had said, he's got to, rehab some more injuries and it's going to take a little bit longer. He could be either intentionally lying to steer people off the wrong, to steer people off that path, or Omega is just feeding him false information. And he also, if Omega was like, oh yeah, I'll be back soon, that would spoil the surprise. So it could be a case of Omega just ribbing him, and he'll be back a lot sooner than expected. I do take it as truth, though. Omega had a lot of shit wrong with him when he took time off after Full Gear, as far as like the amount of shit that he had to get fixed and have surgery on and shit like that. Could he be out for the rest of the year? I'm not saying no. There's a chance he could be. I don't think he will be. AEW doesn't need him per se. I think he'll be back, probably not for Double or Nothing at this point. I mean, he could be. I mean, it's only early April, so he could be back in time. I thought he would be, but I guess not. I think he'll be back for All Out. I think he'll take a good 6 months off and be back by June. That's my prediction. I would love for him to be back before then, but he left in November. I think he'll be back in June, maybe July. But if you really want to amp up the Adam Cole stuff, I mean, whatever they do with Adam Cole at Double or Nothing, have either Omega return at the event or on the post Double or Nothing Dynamite or whatever, and then build to an Omega Cole match at All Out, or do the 6-man with Red Dragon and Cole versus the original Elite, the Bucks and Omega at All Out. That's an option as well. So I don't think he'll be out for the rest of the year. I don't know if they would be telling the story with Cole and the Bucks and Red Dragon right now, unless they were planning on doing Cole and Omega in the foreseeable future. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 436 here today of #AskGSM for Wednesday, April 6, 2022. Appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out the show. And thank you for bearing with me through the episode, as my voice is still a little bit shot. And hopefully by next week it will be fine. I would hope so. But like I said, guys, thank you as always for checking out the show. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Rest up after WrestleMania weekend. I think we're all exhausted. And like I said in my Raw Talk review from earlier today, a lot more content coming here to the channel in the days to come. I still got to post my Dolph Ziggler interview from about a week ago. I should have done that before Mania. I forgot, but that'll be up soon. My Taker interview did go up last Friday, as did my Eric Bischoff interview on Thursday, which I got a lot of great feedback on. So check out both of those here on the channel from late last week. And all the media scrums and all the interviews I did over WrestleMania weekend will be posted as well at some point. I don't know. I can't say it'll be tomorrow. I can't say it'll be within the week. I can't say it's going to be in 2 weeks. I have no idea. I have a lot of shit to catch up on. So bear with me. It will be up at some point. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.